Batangas is a province in the Philippines located in the Calabarzon region in the island of Luzon. Its capital is the city of Batangas and is bordered by the provinces of Cavite and Laguna to the north and Quezon to the east. Across the Verde Island Passages to the south is the island of Mindoro, and to the west lies the South China Sea.Poetically, Batangas is often referred to by its ancient name Kumintáng. Batangas is one of the most popular tourist destinations near Metro Manila. It is home to the well-known Taal volcano, one of the decade volcanoes, and Taal Heritage Town, a small picturesque town that has ancestral houses and structures dating back to the 19th century. The province also has several beaches and diving spots, including Anilao in Mabini, Sombrero Island in Tingoy, Ligpo Island in Bauin, Matabungkay in Leon, Punta Fuego in Nasugbu, Calatagan and Laya in San Juan. Batangas City has the second largest international seaport in the Philippines after Metro Manila. The identification of the city as an industrial growth center in the region and being the focal point of the Calabarzon program is seen in the increasing number of business establishments in the city's central business district, as well as numerous industries operating in the province's industrial parks. Etymology. The first recorded name of the province was Kumintáng, whose political center was the present-day municipality of Balayan. Balayan was considered the most progressive town of the region. An eruption of Taal volcano destroyed a significant portion of the town, causing residents to transfer to Bonbon, the name eventually encompassing the bounds of the modern province. The term Batangan means a raft which the people used so that they could fish in the nearby Taal Lake. It also meant the numerous logs found in the Kumintáng River, the body of water that runs through the northeastern portion of the town and assumes the shape of a tuning fork. History. Prehistory. Long before the arrival of the Spaniards in the Philippines, large centers of population already thrived in Batangas. Native settlements lined the Pansipid River, a major waterway. The province had been trading with the Chinese since Yuan dynasty until the first phase of Ming dynasty in the 13th and 15th century. Inhabitants of the province were also trading with Japan and India. The Philippines' ancestors were Buddhists and Hindus, but far from India and intermixed with animistic beliefs. Archaeological findings show that before the settlement of the Spaniards in the country, the Tagalogs, especially the Batanganos, had attained a semblance of high civilization. This was shown by certain jewelry made from a chambered nautilus's shell, where tiny holes were created by a drill-like tool. The prehistoric Batanganos were influenced by India, as shown in the origin of most languages from Sanskrit and certain ancient potteries. A Buddhist image was reproduced in mold on a clay medallion in bas-relief from the municipality of Calatagan. According to experts, the image in the pot strongly resembles the iconographic portrayal of Buddha in Siam, India and Nepal. The pot shows Buddha Amitabha in the Tribhanga pose inside an oval nimbus. Scholars also noted that there is a strong Mahayanic orientation in the image, since the Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara was also depicted. One of the major archaeological finds was in January 1941, where two crude stone figures were found in Palapat in the municipality of Calatagan. They were later donated to the National Museum. One of them was destroyed during World War II. 18 years later, a grave was excavated in nearby Punta Bahia. Pieces of brain coral were carved behind the heads of the 12 remains that were found. The site was named Liga. The remains were accompanied by furniture that could be traced as early as the 14th century. potteries, as well as bracelets, stoneware, and metal objects were also found in the area, suggesting that the people who lived there had extensive contact with people from as far as China. The presence of dining utensils such as plates or chalices found with the remains also suggest that prehistoric Batanganos believed in the idea of life after death. Thus, the Batanganos, like the neighbors in other parts of Asia, have similar customs of burying furniture with the dead. Like the nearby tribes, the Batangan of the early Batanganos were a non-aggressive people, partly because most of the tribes in their immediate environment were related to them by blood. Some weapons Batangans used included the bakyang, the bangkor, and the suwan. Being highly superstitious, the use of ajimat showed that these people believed in the presence of higher beings and other things unseen. The natives believed that forces of nature were a manifestation of these higher beings. The term Tagalog may be derived from the word Taga Ilog, or river dwellers, referring to the Pasig River located further up north of the region. However, Oang Teh Ming in his writings on Sino-Filipino relations points out that Batangas was the real center of the Tagalog tribe, which he then identified as Maoyi Maai. According to the Chinese imperial annals, Maoyi had its center in the province and extends to as far as Cavite, Laguna, Rizal, Quezon, Bataan, Bulacan, Mindoro, Marinduque, Nueva Ecija, some parts of Zambales, and Tarlac. However, many historians interchangeably use the term Tagalog and Batangano. Henry Otley-Bear, an American archaeologist, also showed in his studies that the early Batanganos had a special affinity with the precious stone known as the jade. He named the late Paleolithic period of the Philippines as the Batangas period in recognition of the multitude of jade found in the excavated caves in the province. Bear identified that the jade culture reached the province as early as 800 BC and lasted until 200 BC. Spanish colonization. In 1570, Spanish generals Martin de Goiti and Juan de Salcedo explored the coast of Batangas on the way to Manila and came upon a Malay settlement at the mouth of Pansipid River. In 1572, the town of Taal was founded and its convent and stone church were constructed later. Officially, the province of Bonbon was founded by Spain in 1578 through Fr. Esteban Ortiz and Fr. Juan de Porras. It was named after the name that was given to it by the Muslim natives who inhabited the area. In 1581, the Spanish government abolished Bonbon province and created a new province which came to be known as Balayan province. The new province was composed of the present provinces of Batangas, Mindoro, Marinduque, Southeast Laguna, and Camarines. After the devastating eruption of Taal volcano in 1754, the old town of Taal, present-day San Nicolas, was buried. The capital was eventually transferred to Batangas for fear of further eruptions, where it has remained to date. In the same years that de Goiti and Salcedo visited the province, the Franciscan missionaries came to Taal, which later became the first Spanish settlement in Batangas and one of the earliest in the Philippines. In 1572, the Augustinians founded Taal in the place of Wawa, now San Nicolas, and from there began preaching in Balayan and in all the big settlements around the Lake of Bonbon. The Augustinians, who were the first missionaries in the diocese, remained until the revolution against Spain. Among the first missionaries were eminent men which included Alfonso de Albuquerque, Diego Espinaz, Juan de Montojo, and others. During the first 10 years, the whole region around the Lake of Bonbon was completely Christianized. It was done through the preaching of men who had learned the first rudiments of the language of the people. At the same time, they started writing manuals of devotion in Tagalog, such as novenas, and had written the first Tagalog grammar that served other missionaries who came. Foundation of important parishes followed throughout the years. 1572, the Tal parish was founded by the Augustinians. 1581, the Batangas parish under Fray Diego Mexica. 1596, Bauan parish administered by the Augustinian missionaries. 1605, Lipa parish under the Augustinian administration. 1774, Balayan parish was founded. 1852, Nasugbu parish, and 1868, Lemri parish. The town of Nasugbu became an important center of trade during the Spanish occupation of the country. It was the site of the first recorded battle between two European forces in Asia in Fortune Island, Nasugbu, Batangas. In the late part of the 20th century, the inhabitants of Fortune Island discovered a sunken galleon that contained materials sold in the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade. Batangas was also among the first of the Philippine provinces to revolt against Spain and one of the provinces placed under martial law by Spanish Governor-General Ramon Blanco in August 30, 1896. This event was given distinction when Marcela Agoncillo, also a native of the province, made the Philippine flag, which bears a sun with 8 rays to represent these 8 provinces. American period, when the Americans forbade the Philippine flag from being flown anywhere in the country. Batangas was one of the places where the revolutionaries chose to propagate the propaganda. Many, especially the revolutionary artists, chose Batangas as the place to perform the plays. In an incident recorded by Amelia Bonifacio in her diary, the performance of Tanika Lang Ginto in the province led not only to the arrest of the company but all of the audience. Later, the play was banned from being shown anywhere in the country. General Miguel Malvar is recognized as the last Filipino general to surrender to the United States in the Philippine-American War. Japanese occupation. After the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, the Japanese sent the planes to attack the Philippines, launching major air raids throughout the country. The bombings resulted in the destruction of the Batangas airport located in Batangas City, of which nothing remains today. Batangas was also a scene of heavy fighting between the Philippine Army Air Corps and the Japanese A-6M0 fighter planes. The most notable air combat battle took place at height of 3,700 meters on December 12, 1941, when 6 Filipino fighters led by Captain Jesus Villamor engaged the numerically superior enemy of 54 Japanese bombers and fighter escorts which raided the Batangas airfield. Captain Jesus Villamor won the battle, suffering only 1 casualty, Lt. C. Acute Sar Basa, who was able to bail out on a parachute as his plane was shot down, only to be strafed by machine gun fire from the A-6M0s. When Gen. Douglas MacArthur ordered the overall retreat of the American Filipino forces to Bataan in 1942, the province was ultimately abandoned and later came under direct Japanese occupation. During this time, the Imperial Japanese Army committed many crimes against civilians, including the massacre of 328 people in Bauan, 320 in Tal, 300 in Cuenca, 107 in San Jose, and 39 in Lucero. Liberation. As part of the Philippines Campaign, the province's liberation began on January 31, 1945, when elements of the 11th Airborne Division under the U.S. 8th Army went ashore on the beaches of Nasugbu, Batangas. However, Batangas was not the main objective of the invasion force. Instead, most of its units headed north to capture Manila, and by March 3, the capital was completely secured. Liberation of Batangas proper by American forces began in March 1945 under the 11th Airborne Division and the 158th Regimental Combat Team. The 158th Regimental Combat Team stationed in Nasugbu was tasked to secure the shores and nearby towns of Balayan and Batangas. The 11th Airborne Division from the Tagaytay Ridge would attack the Japanese defenses north of Taal Lake and open the Lipa Corridor. By March 11, the 158th RCT had reached Batangas City. In order to secure the two bays, 158th RCT needed to capture the entire Kumintáng Peninsula near the town of Mabini, which was still held by some elements of the Japanese 2nd Surface Raiding Base Force. Fighting continued until March 16 when the whole peninsula was finally captured. Afterwards, the 158th RCT turned northward to meet the Japanese Fuji Force defenses at Mount Makalilo in Cuenca on March 19. The 158th RCT disengaged the Japanese on March 23 and were relieved by the 11th Airborne's 187th Glider Infantry Regiment. Another 11th Airborne Division Task Force, the 188th Infantry, was ordered to dispatch troops around Batangas City and its remaining frontiers. Meanwhile, the 11th Airborne Division's 511th Parachute Infantry Regiment had begun the opening of the Lipa Corridor at Santo Tomas and Tanauan before being relieved by the 1st Cavalry Division and moving via Tagaytay to Bauin and San Jose. The last major offensive for the capture of the Lipa Corridor began when 188th Infantry Task Force from Batangas City left for Lipa on March 24. The same that day, the 187th Infantry Task Force launched an attack against the remaining Japanese positions in Mount Makalilo. Heavy fighting continued until April 17. The final capture of Mount Makalilo came by April 21. The 188th Infantry Task Force met stiff resistance from Fuji Force's 86th Airfield Battalion on March 26. To the north, the 1st Cavalry Division attacked the remaining Japanese defenses in the towns of Santo Tomas and Tanauan and succeeded in linking up with the advancing 187th and 188th Task Forces from the south. Lipa was captured by the 1st Cavalry Division on March 29. The final defeat of the Fuji Force came at Mount Malabunyo at the hands of the 511th on May 2. With the capture of Lipa and Mount Malabunyo, organized resistance ended in the province. Some elements of the 188th Infantry Task Force were left to clear the Batangas Mountains located southeast of province from the remaining Japanese. Throughout the battle, recognized Filipino guerrilla fighters played an important key role in the advancement of the combined American and Philippine Commonwealth troops, providing key roads and information for the Japanese location of defenses and movements. The 11th Airborne Division and attached Filipino guerrillas had 390 casualties, of which 90 were killed. The Japanese, however, lost 1,490 men. By the end of April 1945, Batangas was liberated and fully secured for Allied control, thus ending all hostilities. The movements of the military general headquarters and military camp bases of the Philippine Commonwealth Army happened from January 3, 1942 to June 30, 1946 and included the province of Batangas in southern Luzon. During the engagements of the anti-Japanese imperial military operations in Manila, southern Luzon, Mindoro and Palawan from 1942 to 1945, units of the Philippine Constabulary, with the local guerrilla resistance, joined with the U.S. Liberation Military Forces against against the Japanese Imperial Armed Forces. Under the Southern Luzon Campaign, local Filipino soldiers of the 4th, 41st, 42nd, 43rd, 45th, and 46th Infantry Division of the Philippine Commonwealth Army and 4th Infantry Regiment of the Philippine Constabulary joined the battle for the liberation of Batangas. Post-American period. After Douglas MacArthur made his famous landing in the island of Leyte, he came next to the town of Nasugbu to mark the liberation of Luzon. This historic landing is remembered by the people of Batangas every last day of January, a holiday for the Nasugbuganos. After the Philippines was freed from America, statesmen from Batangas featured prominently in the government. These include the legislators Felipe Agoncillo, Gallicano Apacible, Ramon Apolinario R. Apacible, Expedito Laviste, Gregorio Catigbac, Teodoro Calor, Claro M. Recto, and Jose Laurel, Jr. It is also notable that when President Manuel L. Quezon left the Philippines during the Japanese occupation, the Japanese government in the Philippines chose the Batangano Jose Laurel Sr. as the de jure president of the Puppet Republic. Geography. Batangas is a combination of plains and mountains, including one of the world's smallest volcanoes, Mount Taal, with an elevation of 600 meters, located in the middle of the Taal Lake. Other important peaks are Mount Makalot with an elevation of 830 meters, Mount Talamitam with 700 meters, Mount Pico de Loro with 664 meters, Mount Bacalao with 811 meters, Mount Manabo with 830 meters, and Mount Dagadal with 672 meters. Batangas has several islands, including Tingloy, Verde Island, and Fortune Island of Nasugbu. According to Guinness World Records, the largest island in a lake on an island is situated in Batangas. Administrative divisions. Batangas comprises 31 municipalities and 3 cities. Demographics. The population of Batangas in the 2015 census was 2,694,335 people, with a density of 860 inhabitants per square kilometre or 2,200 inhabitants per square mile. In the recent years, waves of migration from the Visayas had brought significant number of Visayans to the province. There are also a few who can speak Spanish, since Batangas was an important center during the colonial period. Batangas also has one of the highest literacy rates in the country at 96.5%, wherein the males have a slightly higher literacy rate at 97.1% than females with 95.9%. Combined average of literacy is 96%. Language. The dialect of Tagalog spoken in the province closely resembles the Old Tagalog spoken before the arrival of the Spanish. Hence the Summer Institute of Linguistics called this province the heartland of the Tagalog language. A strong presence of the Tagalog culture is clearly visible to the present day. Linguistically, Batanganos are also known for the unique affectation of often placing the particles a-ga, usually as a marker of stress on the sentence, at the end of the spoken sentences or speech. For example, I, u, nare. Some even prolong the particle a into a, though it really has no meaning in itself. English is widely understood in the province. Spanish is also understood to some extent, especially in the towns of Nasugbu, Taal, and Lemery, which still have significant Spanish-speaking minorities. Visayan is also spoken by a significant minority due to the influx of migrants from central Philippines. Religion. Batangas has Abrahamic religions like Roman Catholicism, which is followed by very large large majority of the population at 97%. Islam is also present, which can be found mostly in Balayan, Lipa and Batangas City. Jews is 0.02% of the population. The rest are divided between other Christian denominations. Economy. Products. Batangas is known for its fan knife, locally known as balisong, with its manufacture also becoming an industry in the province. Pineapples are also common in Batangas. Aside from the fruit, the leaves are also useful, such that an industry has been created from it. In the municipality of Tal, pineapple leaves are processed to form a kind of cloth known as juicy, from which the barong Tagalog, the national costume of the Philippines, is made. Livestock as an industry is also thriving in Batangas. Cattle from Batangas are widely sought throughout the country. The term Bakang Batangas is associated with the country's best species of cattle. The cattle industry in Batangas is famous, that every Saturday is an auction day in the municipalities of San Juan, Bauin and Padre Garcia. Fishing plays a very important part of the economy of the province. Although the tuna industry in the country is centered in General Santos, Batangas is also known for the smaller species of the said fish. The locals even have their own names for it. Some of them are tambaca, yellow-finned berberabi, tambaculus, tulingan, bonito, and another species also called bonito, but actually the gymnosarda unicolor. There is also an important industry for the tanig. Aside from the South China Sea, Tal Lake also provides a source of freshwater fishes to the country. The lake is home to Sardinella tawilis, or simply tawilis, a species of freshwater sardine that is endemic to the lake. Tal Lake also provides farmed charnes of Bangus. There is also a good volume of Aureochromis niloticus and Aureochromis aureus, both locally called tilapia. It is ecologically important to note that neither Bangus nor tilapia are native to the lake. Thus they are considered an invasive species to the lake. Sugar is also a major industry. After Hacienda Luisita, the country's former largest sugar producer, was broken up for land reform, the municipality of Nasugbu has been the home of the current largest sugar-producing company, the Central Azucarera Don Pedro. Rice cakes and sweets are also a strong industry. Some towns have a prosperous bamboo-based industry, where several houses and furniture are made of bamboo. Natives say that food cooked in bamboo has an added scent and flavor. Labonga baby bamboo is cooked with coconut milk or with other ingredients to make a Batangas delicacy. The city of Batangas hosts the second most important international seaport in the island of Luzon, serving as a primary entry point for goods from the southern part of the country, and international ports. Developments. Batangas Port and Star. Batangas City is the principal port for ferry access to Mindoro, Tablas, Romblon, and other islands. Montenegro Lines is the largest of a number of passenger shipping companies operating out of Batangas. Condensate tankers offload at Batangas in sizable quantity. On January 19, 2008, Phase 2 of the Batangas City International Container Port was opened by the Philippines President, and is operated by the Philippine Ports Authority. On the same day, President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo also inspected a major road project in southern Tagalog. She then inspected the P1.5-BILLION 19.74 km Southern Tagalog Arterial Road, Stage 2 Phase 1 connecting Lipa and Batangas, and the South Luzon Expressway road widening, expansion and the Startleway development projects in Batangas. Electric power. 3 power plants operate in Batangas, namely, Calaca coal-fired power plant, San Lorenzo combined cycle power plant, Elysian Power Plant. Electric power in Batangas is mostly provided by the Batangas Electric Cooperative, but Santo Tomas and Batangas City are served by Meralco. Another power plant is to be built at Mabacong, Batangas City, but environmentalists and the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Lipa oppose, owing to its effect on residents and the aquatic ecosystem on Verde Island Passage. Government, together with the provinces in the island of Panay, Ilocos Sur and Pampanga. Batangas was one of the earliest provinces established by the Spaniards who settled in the country. It was headed by Martin de Goiti, and since then it became one of the most important regions of the Philippines. Batangas first came to be known as Bonbon. It was named after the mystical Taal Lake, which was also originally called Bonbon. Some of the earliest settlements in Batangas were established in the vicinity of Taal Lake. In 1534, Batangas became the first practically organized province in Luzon. Balayan was the capital of the province for 135 years from 1597 to 1732. In 1732, it was moved to Taal, then the flourishing and most progressive town in the province. It wasn't until 1754 that the capital was destroyed by the Great Taal eruption of 1754. It was in 1889 that the capital was moved to the present Batangas City. Batangas is also known in the Philippine history as the cradle of noble heroes, giving homage not only to the heroes it produced but the statesmen that came to lead the country. Among the Batangas politicians are Teodoro M. Calor, Apolinario Mabini, Jose Laurel, Felipe Agoncillo and Don Apolinario Apacible.